And these are user definable, so you can get them specific to your industry. Oh, let me select one of those salaries. Is it a posting account? We discussed that. So we have the headers and the subtotals. This is a posting account. We're going to put transactions to this. Is it direct posting? I can protect the accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash accounts, so that somebody can't put a journal entry directly into them and create an imbalance between my AP subledger and the general ledger. Okay, blocked is just inactive. Okay, we're good in here. Oh, you can run a trial balance right from within the screen as well. I always forget to point that out. Okay. It's a trial balance, so it's not very exciting, but it's there. You need it. Okay. Let's move on. So the next thing I want to look at is, that's my natural account number. Now let's look at the sub-account segment. Finance, dimensions. Okay. You can have an unlimited, so they use the term dimensions for sub-accounts. You can have an unlimited number of dimensions. The first two are called, you define two primary dimensions. Those are called your global 1 and global 2. The distinction of them is that they are, many screens are designed to quickly access them. But you can have another 6, what are called shortcut dimensions, which you can get to, but sometimes there's an extra click.
Well, I remember, dimensions are like segments of a sub-account number. So one dimension isn't your full sub-account. It's a segment of the sub-account number. And we can add those shortcut dimensions through that personalization that you showed before.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then we have other dimensions that we don't have to necessarily put directly on the journal line. So they could be optional. We can make them flexible, so that if you had an account that you wanted to have a special dimension put to, you could just have a dimension only applicable to one account, instead of always having to fill out 000 as the general value for a segment. So in this demo, I've set the division as global 1 and the department as global 2. So my two primary dimensions. And clicking on the dimension here, I then have my dimension values. And in this example, I have 4 profit centers, 141, 42, 43, and 44. Okay. Now let's say I wanted to add more dimensions. In almost all entry screens, you can click this share button up here and say edit in Excel. What this does is it creates a link between an Excel spreadsheet and this data table. So it's downloaded it. Let me open it. It's refreshable, and as well, I can update directly within Excel and publish that back to the website. Okay? A little slow opening, it's all right. Okay. So as I mentioned, I had 4 profit centers. I want to add 2 more, let's say. I had east, west, north, and south. And now I want to add the profit centers, Canada and Mexico. So I'm going to copy them. go to my dimension value list, paste it, and publish. Okay, so what I did is I wrote those values from an Excel spreadsheet. If I refresh this, back up to the website. So, again, that is available, 45 and 46 there. That is available in multiple screens. This is just this doesn't have a lot of value, but you can see where that process would have value if you're doing a journal entry, that you can, copy and paste your journal entry and just hit publish on it.
Quick question, in any of those Excels where you're refreshing, if you do something in error, would it tell you?
Yeah, it does validation. It won't allow an invalid value. So if you put text in a date field,
Gotcha.
it'll tell you. Any question? Okay. All right. So now I've within SL, you're always filling out every sub-account segment, and I'm not sure if everybody has segmentation in their sub-account, but some accounts the segment doesn't necessarily apply, so you wind up typing 000, like a lot on the balance sheet. The sub-accounts are very useful when you're in P&L because you can then break the expenses into departments. If you're doing chargebacks on like other companies or affiliates or something like that, you can put them as a segment value. But in the balance sheet, for the most part, cash is cash, So what you can do is assign dimensions to accounts specifically. So if an account requires a dimension, force it to populate that. You're going to require putting in a value. And as well, you can create valid combinations of dimensions. So if I go to the dimension combination screen, sorry, there's just a bar here that's getting in my way. Okay. If I go to let's make this a little smaller. I've created relationships between the department and the division. So you can see here it now says limited in the dimension combination. And if I click on the department, I can say what is the valid division for Department 11001. Okay, so if I'm entering 11001, I don't want to enter in any other division other than 001. So I've blocked all the others and just permit that one. Now, without making any changes, you can mix and match as there's no restriction, but you can put these restrictions in there to limit that. As well, on the natural account that we were looking at just before, if I go back to our account that we created, it was 60714. I can come up here and say, well, the department, I want to make sure that you enter in a department dimension value. I can set what the default department dimension value is going to be. That's just the default. I can mark whether it's mandatory or if I leave it blank, it's optional, but I can mark it mandatory. And as well, I can modify the range. Come on, go over there. There we go.
Pick the value posting.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Dave?
Pick the value posting and then you get the prompt.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. I can mark what are valid values for that account. So if I don't want a certain department to book to an expense account, I can restrict it here. These are just options. If you don't want to have that much control or get down to that fine of a level, you don't have to fill this out, but it's nice to have those options available if you want to use them. Okay, so now we have our natural account, we have our sub-account, our dimensions. Let's put in a journal entry. Gonna go to General Journal. I'm gonna put in a general. You can see you can do statistical ledger entries as well. And there's different ways that you can structure this. I like to put my initials on a batch, that way I know it's my batch group. You know, other people would have their batch group. My batch is OTC. I go in there and I'm writing my journal entry screen.
Okay, so why don't you explain the difference between that concept of batch and the SL concept of batch that they're used to?
Yeah, so in SL, when you go into the general journal entry screen, you know, the batch number is blank, it's system assigned. And you enter your new journal entry, and until you save it, you do not get a batch number. Here you can see you are controlling what the batch number is. You know, I'm defining it as OTC batch. And what gives me distinction, I'm just going to click Show Fewer here, is the document number. The document number now will be distinct. So think of this document number as your batch ID.
Like OTC batch is just it's kind of a way to identify groups of batches together.
Yeah, because in Solomon, the batch really isn't a batch, it's a single journal entry. Here you have a batch, and then I'm putting in a bunch of journal entries to that batch. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I want to just start putting in an entry, they do a nice job with this. Let's say I'm accruing expense payroll to that journal entry, to the account we just created. So I don't remember my accrued payroll GL account. I can type in right in the account number, accrued, if I can spell it right, there we go, accrued salaries and wages. This is a general ledger account, so, you know, division 000 and my balance sheet department. Again, consider for balance sheet, you may not need that. You may have a requirement for it, but you don't necessarily need dimensions on balance sheet items. Okay. Description, so it defaults in the description from the account, that you can override that. My document date, debit. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the credit side, $10,000, and then transaction information, again, another description field. If I know the account, I can start typing it, and you can see it does a forward lookup pretty reactively there. Okay. Now here, I want to put it to my one of my expense centers. Let's say, I just don't remember if I restricted this. Okay, we'll see. 11145. I'm going to do 11144. Okay. And then I can put in a credit memo. My my debit balance, so my expense balance for the accrual of the payroll. Just a couple of things here. Now this is one journal entry, but if I want to do the reversal for it, I can do it right from within the same journal entry. There's a page here and it says show more columns, show fewer columns. And when I click show more columns, it's going to take that posting date and actually put it at the line item level.
And that's another important thing. Like, we're all used to period to post in SL. So that goes away with this product, so that the posting date is the month that it's going to post into, as opposed to a separate period to post field.
Yeah. And here's that same button of edit in Excel. If I want to take this out to Excel and make changes in Excel to my journal entry, I can. So same concept that we saw before. I have too many fields on here. You can scale it down, the number of fields, and then just click Publish. Okay. Okay, so once I have my journal entry set, you can set up workflows. It's totally optional. If you just want to give, free reign, go ahead, post. But you can set up that somebody has to request approval, send approval request. Okay? That will send an email and not allow this journal entry to be posted until the person clicks approve. I didn't turn on workflows because I'm going to do this demo with David and we keep crashing into each other with workflows. But that's not the email. I sent the email to myself last night. You get an email similar to this. Could get it on your phone, totally fine on a phone. You can click on the hyperlink and it will take you right back to the journal entry where you can approve, reject, give comment, whatever. I skipped over attachments. You can put attachments on here. How can I never find the attachment link? There. Attach a file. Just your support. David will show a better example of attachments later. Okay, how am I doing on time? Just 2 minutes over? All right, finishing up.
No, John took less time than we thought,
Oh, okay.
so you're doing okay.
Okay. Now, we use the edit in Excel to make changes in Excel. If you still want to do a traditional import from another system, and there are some screens where it doesn't make sense to use that Excel function to update, you can still do an import. So here I have an example of a sample journal transaction that I'm going to import. It has the fields that you would think it would have. What am I importing? A general journal. I want it to go to OTC batch. Each line needs a distinct ID. And I started this at 3,000, but I could just easily have started at 1. What's the account number? What's the posting date? We're going to assign a document number here. I can leave that blank and the system would assign it itself. The description that I want to bring in, debit, credit, and then the responsibility. Okay? So about what you would think would go into a journal entry. And again, you can have a spreadsheet that calculates your journal entry, and then you just copy and paste it into this format, or have the formulas produce it in this format. So let me just grab the location of this info. Okay. So in Solomon you have transaction import, in GP you have integration manager. Here in BC it's called configuration package. So I call up a configuration package and I have my baseline general journal. Select the file to import. Import. I don't know why they make you click apply here. I feel like import once would have been enough, but okay. Okay. So it's inserted 15 records, and the one record it modified was the OTC batch ID. Now if I go to back to my journal entry, I'll change it to summary view, but you can see I have 2 documents. I just imported document 20, so I brought in those lines. 13 is the document that I manually entered just before. If I say show fewer lines, it will allow me to look at each general journal entry individually. There. Any questions about the import? You good? Mm-hmm. And then last thing I'm going to cover is financial report writing. So there are a good number of financial report writers that work, Excel-based financial report writers. There's many web-based financial report writers that integrate with Business Central. right within the product itself, it does have a report writer similar to old FRX. It doesn't have all the features that FRX had, but if you used FRX in the past, which was a row and column report designer, which is you define what accounts you want on the row, what periods or what ledger you're looking at in the columns, and it returns the value at the intersection. So I've skipped this before. In this system, anytime you're lost, you can't find what you're looking for, you can click on this magnifying glass and just type it in, financial, and you'll see it'll do a forward lookup, find financial reports. Okay, so I'm going to run this P&L detail V, and right now it's restricted to one. Get rid of that. I want to run this as of 12/31. Okay. As soon as I hit tab off this, you're going to see the dollar amounts change down here. Okay, so it's already calculating out. This one size is better. This looks like a good old-fashioned P&L. This is native in the software. Don't have to go out to Excel or use another report writer for this. I can restrict it so that if I wanted to put in like one of my department profit centers, 141, I just type in the number and you can see it will now restrict the dollar values there. Okay. So if I showed you, this is a row and column report designer. So if we look at the row definition, let's do that. Come here. Edit row definition. I think anybody that used FRX or MR would feel really comfortable seeing that screen where you have the account number, totals, what am I looking at, net change, balance at date, beginning balance. These are very similar to the features that were in those report writers. And as well on the column side,